Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains. There's only one requirement to hang out on the edge, is that you open your big brain and close your small mind. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now.
Didn't suit my personality.
You don't like it? Have you ever done a redhead?
No, I haven't done a redhead.
I can see you like a strawberry blonde or a redhead.
Yeah.
That'd be cute.
Well, one of my sisters is a redhead, the other's a dark haired, and so I'm a blonde. So it just, yeah, I'm blonde by nature. It's in my personality. So
Well,
I get away with murder.
Have you ever tried a wig? Have you ever worn a wig?
No, not yet.
Well, they're fun,
Not
and
yet.
you are such a fun person. You really, really are.
Well, I wear. Did you see my purple wig for my Mama Max?
I did see your purple wig, and it was cute. So,
Yeah, she's Mama Max. She's the children's book author. Yeah.
oh, okay. Well, you know what? I gotta find a postcard so everybody knows where they are. They know where they are. I don't know where I am though right now. Here we go. I'm on the edge with Karen McDermott from South Australia. Uh, she is, when it comes to books and book publishing, this lady is it. And you might want to write her information down right now because she's going to give us some tips and some tricks on publishing your book, your novel, your memoir, how she got started. I don't know how she had time. She's a mother of six. She is one of six siblings, so six is a lucky number for her. She's got so much going on, and it's 6:30 in the morning there now, and she is up working. So I want her to tell us a little bit about her story and encourage us, and especially as women, how does she do it all and still have rosy cheeks and bright eyes and a happy life? So welcome, Karen McDermott, to the Edge. How are you?
I am so good, April. Thank you for having me. And hello, Brains. It's so lovely to be here with you.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Now, in the green room, we were just chatting it up, and I said, nope, we got to stop because I want people to hear your story. So tell us a little bit about, from the beginning.
Mhm. So I'll start from I'm sure have always been very blessed in life. I've always felt very blessed in life, but I did go through a dark period, April, and that was when I went through post-traumatic stress back in 2006, at the end of 2006, and it stayed with me for a year. And I didn't like it, but I knew it was happening because I was fortunate enough to have worked in mental health for 4 years. So I worked my way through it, but I stayed in there too long. So, of course, you get the wake up call, which came
Let
with
me,
a
let me
double.
try to interject there so I can get a clear picture here. You had something traumatic happen to you, and then you
Hmm.
went to the PT. Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah, it was like it was, and I was always a very optimistic person, so I never expected, it got me, and it happened because I wasn't filling my cup. I was giving all the time and I wasn't stopping to fill my cup. So when this traumatic event happened, I fell lower than I would have done now, where I keep my vibration high. I'm very mindful to keep my cup full first so that I can fill others. And then I had a double miscarriage as well after that. But anybody that goes through post-traumatic stress or knows somebody who goes through post-traumatic stress, you're very numb to feelings. You don't feel anything. You're just going through the motions of life. There's no real purpose. You're just survival mode every day. But when I had a double miscarriage, which was traumatic, um, and I wanted those babies, and I had already had two boys, so I was like, why me? I'm a healthy. Why did this happen to me? And I never got that answer from the medical end. But what happened with that double miscarriage was I woke up and I started to feel again. I cried buckets of tears for them. I cried buckets of tears for the year I'd lost. But life started to I started to wake up to life again. I started to have hope again, and I started to plan again. And within a month, I was pregnant again. That we had applied for visas to Australia. Our visas came through because I'm from Ireland, so this happened in Ireland, and our visas came through. We got married. We moved to Australia that year. I was 35 weeks pregnant with with my daughter, because we didn't have a visa for her. So I waddled my way, 35 weeks pregnant, with my family to Australia, and we knew nobody, we knew nothing, but we had this deep knowing that that was exactly what we were supposed to be doing at that
Mhm.
exact time. So with that faith in us, we arrived here, and a bit of a bumpy start, but it was the best thing ever. And that was 13 years ago, April.
Wow.
And so, obviously, I books and babies are my life, absolutely. And I started writing for a website called Building Beautiful Bonds, and I was kind of going through a bit of a spiritual awakening. So I'd write articles that were coming up for me, and I was just little 700 word pieces, but they started getting picked up by magazines and things like that, and I was like, wow, this is cool. So I just wrote. Then I had a calling, and I was watching The View one day, and Whoopi Goldberg, yeah, love the. Well, it's funny because I had just had my fourth child, and she was 4 weeks old, and I was watching The View. My other ones were playing, and because children's TV was always on in our house, there was never daytime TV on. But this one day, I had The View on, and Whoopi Goldberg and the girls had a celebrity TV couple come in, and they had just endured a miscarriage on their TV show because they were doing a reality show,
Mm.
and I could just connect so much with the woman. And but Whoopi just stopped the show, and she turned her back to the cameras, and she says, I'm going to tell you something that I tell all my friends that this happens to. This was a visitor that came to tell you to get back onto the right track in life, and when you do, your gift will come. And I was like, oh, that was the answer my heart longed for, because I
Mhm.
still, and that was 2.5 years after I had had my double miscarriage, and because I never knew why me, why would that happen to me? I'm healthy, all these kinds of things. But I remember it just connected with me because I needed to get off that track that I was on. I was just
Right, right.
stuck in PTSD and stuff. And then, but I woke up to life again. So it was a true gift that happened to me. And I shifted immediately, and I got pregnant straight away again. So I was like, I have to tell everyone this. So I wrote a blog, but that wasn't enough. And then, as the universe does, it sends you signs. And it came to my attention that in 2 days' time, there was NaNoWriMo. Have you ever heard of NaNoWriMo ever?
No.
It's National Novel Writing Month. It's based in the US, but it's worldwide now. And this was in 2010. And I had a 4 week old child, and my other three kids. And I said to my husband, I'm sorry, dear, but for 30 days, you're not going to have a wife, because I'm going. The challenge is that for 30 days you write 1,667 words a day, and you have a 50,000 word novel at the end, and you go and you log every day how many words you write. So I was very focused and very determined. But 2 days before it started, I knew what I was going to write about, but I didn't have any plan or anything. And it was going to be a fictional novel. I don't know why it had to be a fictional novel with my story woven through it. But I did. I just wrote down 20 potential chapters. I knew it was going to be called The Visitor.
Wow.
and on the first day of November 2010, I sat with missing keys on my keyboard, breastfeeding my daughter, and I would get up at 5 a.m. and I'd start, and I wouldn't stop. Well, I would stop throughout the day and just keep going back to it. But every night I would log 1,667 words. I'd done that for every day for the month of November, and I had my 50,000. I actually wrote 51,000 words, by the 30th of
That's-
November, and it was amazing. That changed my life.
You
That
know,
and
I
then the
had
book.
another guest on my show that talked about having 9 miscarriages.
Yeah,
9.
it's
And then
really
I
tough.
had another guest on my show that was a post-abortion counselor and coach.
Yeah,
And those were some of the most heart-wrenching
mm,
conversations, you know, as a woman.
yeah,
I've never experienced that, but I can imagine the trauma that you
yeah.
feel, and I
I
mean,
just so wanted
9,
them.
yeah, I'm like 9, and she
Mm,
kept trying and kept trying, and now she owns one of the most prestigious doula clinics here in California in a very rich part of town. And when I talked to her, she was sleeping in her car. So,
wow.
life can, give you lemons, and what did you do? You made lemonade. So now you're squeezing the juice out of other people. You just took it to another level. You had 6 kids. Let's talk about the 6 kids. How old are your
Mhm.
children?
My eldest is 24 and my youngest is 5.
It's 5. Okay. Do you plan on having more?
No.
Now
6 is my number. I'm done.
you are one of 6 as well, correct?
I'm the eldest of 6, so I've kind of always been a mum.
So how's the pecking order when it comes to that? Each personality is different. How they get
Maybe.
along is just, you just have to work with that. That's a lot of personalities. Plus keeping your business and keeping yourself and your love life, all of that. How do you do all of that? How do you keep all those balls in the air?
I just prioritize what needs to be prioritized at any time. I find that when my eldest son, who's 24 now, he's about to turn 25, he was on his own for 10 years. I had him, it was 10, my next son is 15, so there's 10 years difference between them. So I found one-on-one was more demanding than having 6. And I have it more together with 6 than I did with 2. Would you believe it? Because they all just get on with it, and they all have a friend, they all play. Everything you do is kind of collectively. And it just happens. I don't overthink it. I don't i just my big thing is unconditional love. I was gifted unconditional love as a child, and not every I only realized as I grew up that not everybody is given that gift. So
No.
I just love my kids to death and just be there for them, and that's the thing. And like starting up my business, like I'm an accidental publisher, but starting up my business was because I wanted to be present as a mum. I want to drop them off at school. I want to pick them up at school. If they're on a sick day, I want to be there. If they're on, whenever they're on school holidays, I want to be hanging out with them, not putting them in daycare. It's just my choice and what I chose for my life and for them, because they grow up too fast.
Oh, they do.
They just grow up so fast. So that
And
was my choice.
there's so many outside influences, and if you don't have a
Mm.
watchful eye, they can get caught up in the world. They can
And
get.
how, like, I was so blessed and lucky because I was always COVID ready. So when COVID hit, it wasn't a big shock to us, even though we're in Western Australia and we have been relatively, like, of all of COVID, we've only been in lockdown for
Mhm.
7 weeks together.
Oh,
So
no.
we're really blessed here. And, but still, just to be able to not have to worry about my business or whatever, I can work from anywhere in the world. And because I found my purpose and my passion because I was an at-home mom, because I had that space to do it. And I just feel so blessed for that. And,
Now, I can tell that you are a deep woman of faith because you use the word blessed repeatedly.
mm,
What does the word bless mean to you?
well, and I do say it just means I'm so grateful for what I have, because I know that it's my positive attitude that I'm focusing on all the goodness in my life that brings more goodness my way.
Right.
So I have total faith in that. And I'm not a very holy person, as in religion wise, but I'm a very spiritual person, as
Exactly.
in yeah, I'm very deeply connected with my own inner source. I know exactly what I write on it now all of the time. People say, "How can you be so successful? How can you be a mum of 6? How do you do all of this?"
Right, right, right.
And I'm like, it's life magic. I embrace the magic of life. I cherish it, but I also believe that I'm worthy of the best, and I go for it. I have no fear because there's no fear in knowing. You set an
Okay,
intention.
you're Irish.
I'm
I'm
Irish too. Yeah,
you know, uh, we have leprechauns.
exactly.
We have four
Exactly.
clovers. I mean, we
Exactly.
have pots of gold. Are you kidding me? How could you not? How can you not? So now you are this publisher. You writing just wasn't enough. You springboarded into, and I looked at your website. Oh my God, you have some amazing authors and so many books in so many genres.
Hmm.
How did you get started publishing?
Oh, that was a journey. That was a calling. I call myself an accidental publisher. I've just been really successful at it. And April, I just want to share with you, my studies have not been in publishing. My studies are in humanities. I have, that's what I studied in university, humanities. So it's always about doing things for others. I love helping people along in life. It's just I just love it. I absolutely love doing that. So when I wrote The Visitor, I'm going to share with you. This is The Visitor.
Okay.
When I visited her, which was in 2010, a few people read it, and this woman who had just had a miscarriage read it, and she said, "It gave me the answer my heart longed for." And I was like, "Oh, wow, give me goosebumps." So I was like, "Okay, we have to get this published." So I signed up and I self-published it with a company in the US, and it wasn't the best experience. It wasn't a personable experience. It wasn't an enjoyable experience. When I had my book in my hands, I was like, wow, was that worth it? My
Oh,
bank account was
it was a
empty.
transaction, you know.
Yeah, it was that. And I was like, wow, this is a heart-centered book I've poured my soul into. I wanted to reach people. I really wanted to reach the hearts of men, but I had this book in my hands and I didn't know how to get it out into the world. I didn't know what to do. I was a new author. So but at the beginning of this book, the quote I wrote myself at the first thing I ever wrote for this book was, "From every negative situation is the potential for a positive outcome." So I
Mhm.
sat with that for a while, and then I had this real inspired thought that said, "Goodness, wonder if you could publish a book." Because even as much as the publishing experience felt negative, it actually wasn't, because when you look at it from a different perspective, it was like a training. I was like I was being mentored. I learned so much about publishing a book through it because I so engrossed in every step of the way. And so I changed my perspective on it. I done a little bit of research, and a bit of serendipity came into play because I researched who the print and distribution channel were, and and on that very month they had opened that my publisher had used, and that very month they had opened up an office in Melbourne, Australia.
Come on.
And I said, okay, I'm going to apply to become a publisher, and if I am accepted as a publisher, I'm going to help stories and people get published in a positive way and focus on it being a positive experience. And I've been doing this now for 8 full years, real
Wow.
intensively, but, or nine now. Now, this is my ninth year. But there's something, whenever somebody starts out on their authorship journey, I think because I come from an author's perspective of not having written a book before, I know all aspects. I'm not just a publisher, I'm also an author as well. So I come from the whole vision. So I know the journey, and I know what the self-development journey that comes with it. I have helped over 400 authors get published now. So and every single journey is different. And so I'm as much a support on the journey as I am a publisher of the book, because every author they always reach different challenges, and they're always individual for every author. And but every challenge is an opportunity to stop, learn something new, and evolve into it, because writing and publishing a book is an evolutionary process
It
for
is.
everyone.
I've done.
So,
I self-published
yeah,
3 books. But
see,
it's not just the writing of the book. It's the writing of the book. It's the editing of the book. It is the cover of the book. It is the content. It's keeping people interested and the sell through. Now, there's a lot of
hmm,
people that'll say, "Oh, because I talk to everybody on the planet,
yeah,
and they'll say to me, "Oh, I have a book," and I was like, "Okay, great. What's just the sales on the book?" I don't know. Well, now it's a pamphlet, and that you got maybe 1,000 books that you printed. They're sitting there looking at you. The sale through. I think number one, I want to know what is the responsibility of a publisher. Really, what are your, top 3, 4 functions, and then also the sale through, and to keep the momentum, because people lose momentum. They're writing their second book, they're writing their third book, and they haven't sold 100 of the first book.
hmm,
So answer
absolutely.
that for me. What is your role and responsibility as a publisher?
Absolutely. Well, there's different roles and responsibilities for me personally as a publisher. Obviously, I'm not a big five, we don't have banks and banks of money to put behind books. But what we do is I own a traditional press, and Serenity Press is my traditional press, where we give contracts out, and we fulfill all of the costs of production, and we put it out there with a marketing budget behind it. So that's Serenity Press. But with KMD Books, which is for my thought leaders and for all of that, all of those kind of business owners, all of all of those kinds of non-fiction books, they're self-funded by the authors, and it depends on what they choose. And we have different levels. So if you want to put a big marketing budget behind it, you want to help get get the sales out there. But what we do is we align with the intentions of the author, and we have that happen. Like for example, one of our authors had a dream of being on big W shelves. And so she's so we allow, what's the goal? What does the author want? What's the objective? If you want to sell a lot of books, and you're a new author, well, you got to start building up a readership platform. That's where your energy should go, and things like that. So there's lots of different aspects that we work with. So with traditional publishing, we're responsible for a lot, but a lot of it's a partnership. If you're an author that's not going to be proactive, well
Right.
then you're not. It's the author that fuels the author is the driver there.
It's your baby. You're giving birth
Yeah.
to this project. And so even if it comes out ugly, you can't get rid of it. It's still your baby. It's still your body of work.
And the launch of a book is just the birth of the book. You still got to nurture it and grow it up and get it out there into the world. And that's what I think a lot of people,
Absolutely.
there's so much focus on the journey of getting it published and getting it out into the world, but that's only the beginning. That's
Oh
only
yeah,
the
that's
beginning. And
that's just the beginning. They have
yeah,
no idea. And longevity. You know, I
absolutely.
I sold a couple of my books the other day, and I told myself, if they're still selling the Bible and the Torah, I'm gonna sell mine
Uh-huh.
till I die. And it's
Yeah,
brand new to the person who's never read it.
absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
there
Yeah.
are books that are timeless. That uh, having characters that people follow and get invested in. And you never know. A lot of books have turned into plays, they turn into scripts, they turn into television shows. Some books, like some of mine, have turned into songs and song lyrics.
Oh, beautiful.
So there's a lot to it, and there's a lot that you can do with it, and it's a lot of fun. Speaking of fun, you're a pretty fun gal. I mean,
Ah.
you do. I look at how you introduce your authors when they release a new book. I've been watching. And you have such a bubbly personality. You are front line with them. It's not like you've passed them on to your staff, because you could, you know.
Mhm.
You don't, you're there with them, you're taking the photo, you're helping them launch their book. I mean, you give them service from cradle to grave, and I commend you for that. That's beautiful.
Thank you so much. I love it. This is where my genius is, what I love to do. And then my team is very, they're amazing at the whole, doing everything behind the scenes. Whenever you start out in the business, you're doing everything yourself. And then as you grow, then you get your team to, you delegate the things that you don't love doing so much. And then you stay in your genius zone. Well, connecting with authors and helping them shine is what I love to do. And do you know what, April? Life is an adventure. It's there to be lived, it's there to be embraced, and it's there to do the things that bring you joy. Because why would you not? And when you do that, you're not only a beacon of light, you're not only shining yourself, you're a beacon of light for others. And if I achieve something, I'm sharing it because it might inspire somebody. It might show them that they can do something. It might give them a resource to follow up with. Like if somebody's watching this interview that's in my network, if they want to get interviewed by you, well, reach out. If you feel you're a good fit, reach out to April, because to have these conversations and to get
Exactly.
featured and to share your story with the brains, like how cool is that,
Exactly. But it's the backstory too, their
Mm.
writing process, their thought process. What were they thinking? What were you going through? And you were going through a very, very tender time. And instead of turning that pain into something that manifests inside of you, you turned it into a payday. And that is
Yeah.
brilliant, and that really, really works. Are your children, have you found the writing bug in any of your children? Do they like
Well, my kids just think that writing and publishing books is just part of life. They all have their own little books and stuff. But when we see my eldest son has written a very complex novel, like a Game of Thrones, and he's built a
oh,
whole
wow.
world out. But he hasn't told anybody that, and so I shouldn't probably say that. But he's working hard on that. But he's also in publishing now. He works for me full time, and he's studying books and publishing at university as well. So it's wonderful. He's caught the bug, and it is a bug. It's like you catch the writing and publishing bug,
I mean, look
because you
what
can.
happened with Harry Potter. She's sitting
Yes.
looking at a coffee shop. and just it
Mm.
just turned her life around.
Yeah.
And it
Well,
can.
that's the thing. I could have chose to stay in you. I could have chose to be defined by that trauma that happened to me for the rest of my life. But I chose no. This isn't. I'm choosing no. I'm going to turn it around and change my perspective on it and use it as a strength. And it is a strength, and that's like that's why I'm so passionate about mental health, and I'm so passionate about sharing stories with the world. Is because when we share stories we connect with the heart of somebody else and
Right.
help them along. And when a story connects with someone when they need it, when there's magic happens.
Right.
There's something that's just amazing happens, and so
And
more stories need to be told.
that's what people are doing right now. They're really investing in emotional intelligence, and they're building their relationship capital. It's not about getting to the six figures brains. That's
Mm-mm,
great. But there's some people out there that are trying to get through the next 6 hours, and
absolutely.
what can help them is a good book or a good
Mm-hmm.
journal. Journaling is key. I'm not like I was. I was one that would grab that journal every night. Now I grab it, once a week. But to go back and to look at who you were and to look at how you've grown and you've developed or your new upcoming struggles and challenges, it's great. So it's very, very cathartic. It's very, very therapeutic. What three tips would you give a person if they are wanting to write a book? What would be your first three suggestions?
So, yeah, absolutely. Whenever it depends what you want to write on. If you are writing a nonfiction or self-help, then work on the framework. You know, write about what you know about. What are you passionate about? Because that helps it steam along. So when I'm writing nonfiction and, I get my framework right, but I'm not so rigid with it. But it gives me the framework to start to get it started. When you're writing your story, and be really kind to yourself because there's going to be the residue of emotions that are there that maybe you have pinned down. Because remember, when we go through something in our lifetime, and if we're sharing a story about it, it's going to bring it back up to the surface. But that's not an opportunity for you to bed it down again. It's an opportunity for you to release it out into the world, be free of it. And oh my God, is that not the most therapeutic thing you will ever do in your lifetime? I talk to so many people about this because when you go through a hard time or trauma in your life, your body goes into survival mode. So it buries down some things so that you can get through it. But you need to then kind of whenever you're well again and when the call comes to release it because you need to process it and release it out into the world and be free of it, and honor it and forgive where forgiveness needs to happen and all of those kinds of things. And I think that a lot of people forget to do that, so they carry around a lot of things they don't need to carry around for a lifetime. When the opportunity comes to share your story with the world, share it, even if even if it's just for yourself to get it out onto paper, do it. And as for fiction and novels, well, I have fun writing fiction. I'm not a literary, if you read my novels, they're not literary fiction, if you know what I mean. I was not very good at English in school and things like that, but there's power in my books, and very spiritual, messages and wisdom woven through them. So I love how they're written and the characters connect. But my characters, I can identify with real people in my life, so it helped me to develop the characters because I kind of knew who they were and their personas, when they were embedded in the book. So that helps whenever you write about things that you know about. It just gives you more confidence to get the words on page. And your first draft is your first draft. Don't overthink it. Just get it out. Let it flow. And that's one of the wonderful things that happened for me for NaNoWriMo. To just say, just write it out. Write it out. Don't stop. Just keep writing for 30 days. Get that first draft out. And then you have something to work with. Your first draft's not your final draft. You will have to go over it. But don't think about that. Get it out. Get what needs and keep that channel open because you will be surprised what comes out onto that page. You'll be like, what? Did I write that? you know?
Work with your editor because your editor sometimes doesn't know your voice. That's like me.
Mm-hmm.
Some of
Mm-hmm.
my poems have, cliches or some slang terms or whatever. Don't correct that because it takes away. So have a working relationship with your editor. Don't just expect for them to dot your I's, cross your T's, and put in the comma, but actually let them know your voice, and speak to who you are and what you do. Last question I want to ask is again about the sale through, because that's what people do. They want to sell their book. Um, in this time of COVID, here, especially in the United States, there's not the book signing. People are excited about going on the book tour. They're not doing that. Some virtual book tours. I tell them you can still have a book signing. You can have them pre-purchase your book. My books are all over the world, and how I got that is as I travel, I always take a book and I donate it to the library.
Hmm.
Whatever language they're speaking, when they pull up their international rolls for poetry, voila, there I am. Can you have some tips for sail through?
Be visible and have conversations in where your readers are, you know, where your readers are. Like for poetry, a lot of people will know someone who it's more universal. But if you've written a romance novel, be where the other romance novelists are, but also think outside of the box. And I've got everywhere in my life by thinking outside of the box, getting innovative. Like get your book to someone who can make it visible, have a conversation with someone, and just thinking bigger than what you are right now, and have fun. Be visible online. Like
Enjoy.
we have used to do lots of events, and we're lucky that here in Western Australia we can still have book launches.
Mhm.
But a book launch is a very it's a location dependent thing, right? And yes, you can go on tour or whatever, but whenever you're doing it online, you can have more of an impact actually. And if you have fun with it and have fun engaging conversations and make it fun and think outside of the box, like how can you get for example, one of the things that we do is audio flip books. So we have partnered with Flipsnack and we do a flip book. So it's like an instant reading a book experience. So it feels like you're reading a book on an iPad. And then and if it's a children's book or even some novels or especially our fairy tale books, we get the author to read it. So then we put the audio over it. So if somebody wants to listen, so we, get innovative with what you can offer your audience, but engage, and have fun with it because people want more. People want to be in the energy of something that's high vibrational. So be that beacon, and
And
be that.
you know what else is really popular now? The novelettes. Novelettes? Is it novelettes or novelettes?
Yeah, novelettes. I
Novelettes.
love writing novelettes.
You don't? Uh,
I
there's
do. Yeah, I love
they
writing them. I've
they
written a
are
few.
small, quick reads, but I tell you, they are perfect for a plane ride, a train ride, just an afternoon with a sandwich out at the park or at the beach. And they are going, at these drugstores like here, like the Walmart and the CVS. They're flying off the shelves.
Yeah, they're short reads for busy people as well, and that's the thing. And they just give you that little snippet, and and even for me, they keep my readers engaged when they're waiting for a bigger book. You know what I mean? So a novelette is around 10,000 words, mine are, but it's anything up to 15,000. So there's a novelette, novella, and then a novel. So that's the three stages. So yeah.
And now audiobooks.
Hmm.
I think that they are wonderful. I know President Obama wrote a 700-page. I don't have time to sit there and be patient with you. I had to get it on audio. What do you think about
Yes.
audiobooks? And well, I guess it depends on the individual. Do you think that the actual author should read it or maybe they should have someone else? But again, it depends on their voice inflection and how they feel about, delivering it audibly.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few I've had this discussion before, and it's interesting that a lot of people have views on this. So for I love audiobooks. I listen, but I like to have a physical book and an audiobook. I like both
Mm,
because I like those moments sitting down on the sofa with a cuppa and just really engrossing in it. Because I do a lot of digital work, so I'm on laptops and I'm on things a lot during the day, so I like to, have the book. But listen, and audio is wonderful for when I'm driving around,
mm.
and I listen, or if I'm waiting, I just listen to audio. So that's what I do with that. But, um, I if you have a readership, especially in nonfiction arena, I think that it's more impactful when the author reads it. But to have some training on how to deliver it, I think, you just don't rack up and just spew it out. I think that it's important that you deliver a professional audiobook in a studio, and that you take time to read it properly. And like for example, a lot of my authors at KMD Books, their audiobooks, their audience wants them to read them. Do you know what I mean?
Right, right.
Um, so, but for fictional novels, I think a narrator is better.
Hmm.
So,
Well, you are amazing, and you've given us so much insight, personally, spiritually, professionally, and audibly.
ah,
So I love it, and thank you so much. Tell my brains how to get in contact with you, because I know that there's a lot of books out there that need to be written, and there's a vetting process. Brains, now let's not just think because you call her that she's just gonna scoop you up. There's a standard that she is looking for. She's looking for someone that is going to be serious, that is going to cross promote, that is going to do the work. You don't just dump, you know, 10,000 pages of text on her and expect her to do the work. You've got to be a buy-in, because again, this is the baby that you're giving birth to. So how do they get in contact with you, Karen?
yes, you will find me at kmdbooks.com, and also LinkedIn and Facebook. I'm very active on there, so you'll find me, and we can have a conversation, see if you're a good fit.
Absolutely, because you know what? If the shoe don't fit, don't force it. But there's options, and Karen seems like she's real cool, that if it doesn't necessarily work for her publishing, maybe she should give you some direction on self-publishing. Again, it never hurts to have a conversation. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me here on the Edge and My Brains. I appreciate you. I value you. And again, if you are looking for promotion, if you want to have a conversation about your book, please subscribe to everything that I have. I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. But I'd love to have a conversation with you too, because that's what we do. We're communicators. Thank you, Karen. I love you.
My pleasure. Bye, Brains.
My brains.
Thanks, April.